question is, you explained the issue of the Titanic really well, Sebas. Now, the first question is, what would you have done had you been the captain of the ship of the Titanic? What would you have done differently?
Uh, Principally, before the ship crashed with the iceberg, I think I told to all the tripulation of the ship that they must be attent to all the well be attent at all the traject.
Okay, say
Not
that
not
again.
passengers, not passengers.
The
It's
crew,
the
the
crew.
crew.
Yeah,
Okay, you would have told the crew what?
that they must be very focused at every thing at the traject
During the trajectory of the ship. All right.
of the ship. Yeah.
They must be very focused during the trajectory of the ship. All right. That you would have told them that, right?
Yes.
What else would you have done different?
I don't know. I think. Well, I don't know if you know, but well, I think I don't know if this something of the movie or it's real that the crew starts to say to the people that they must to go to the boats, safe boats,
Okay. Let me say hello to
and
Nati. Nati, hello. Good evening. How are you?
Hello, teacher. Good evening. I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
Fine too. Thank you. I am recreating the Titanic story with Sebas. And the question is, what would you have done differently? So Sebas is okay. Sebas, can you restate your answer, please?
yes, teacher. Well, I don't know very well, but well, I was telling you, I don't know if this is something of the movie or it was real. That the crew of the Titanic starts to say to the people that they must to go to the boats, safe boats. It's correct to say,
Yeah, emergency boats. Yeah.
and they have a capacity of to have 60 people, 60 persons,
16. Each one or overall?
each one,
Each boat. Okay. All right.
each boat. Yeah, 60.
60.
But the crew was only uh, permitting,
Or allowing or permitting
allowing, allowing to like 20 20 persons, 25
per boat.
per boat.
Okay. And so, what would you have done
So
differently? You would have told the crew to let the boats be full.
full, yes.
Okay, interesting. Well, that's a good answer. That's an interesting comment, Sebas. Thank you very much. I'm not sure about the true story either, but let me ask Nati. Nati, what would you have done differently to avoid that the Titanic sunk?
Um, well, I didn't see the Titanic history, but I know that the Titanic shocked with a rope, right? Well, not with a rope, but with a piece of ice, right? Or something
With an
like that.
iceberg, exactly, with an iceberg. And according
Yes.
to Sebas, which I think is right, yes, yeah,
No, tell me.
I think according to Sebas, the Titanic crashed against the iceberg as a result of the captain's irresponsibility. He was too petulant. He said, "No, this ship is not to be sunk even by God." And guess what? It was sunk right after, right immediately the same night. So, what would you have done differently? Seba suggested that he would have told the crew that they must be very focused during the trajectory, during the journey of the ship, the journey. Let's use journey of the ship. What would you have done differently, Nati? What would you have done
Mm,
differently?
Probably check the correct communication with the I don't know what is the name to the main area that because I watch some movies and in there the captain talk with like the main area and say the directions and all of this. So
All right.
probably pay attention on that indications.
Okay. To those indications. All right. So Nati would have checked the correct communication between the captain and the main area and would have paid attention to those indications. Excellent. Well, that's a great conclusion, Sebas and Nati. Thank you very much. Now, Nati, I'm going to ask you now to tell me the story of Little Red Riding Hood. What happened, please? You know the story, right?
Robin Hood, right?
No, no, Little
No.
Red Riding Hood.
Oh, I think no. Ah,
Yes, yes, yes.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay, so tell us the story, Nati, please, if you remember. I'm sure you remember the story.
Uh, yes, I think so.
Okay.
Well, once upon a time, there is Little Red Riding Hood that was cooking in his house, um, and then go went to her grandmother's house and gave her some well in different stories apples or bread.
I think there were some pancakes, but it doesn't matter. Right.
Yes, uh, some pancakes, and then she decided to walk into the forest, um, and then she found a wolf.
She found a wolf. Exactly.
Yes, but the wolf saw her, and I don't remember if they talk, but I know that the wolf saw her, and then little Red Riding Hood continue her her way, and when she arrived
And
to
she ran.
her arrived to her grandmother's house, opened the door, and then her grandmother was very big with a very big teeth and and what else? And a big nose, I remember. And then Little Red Riding Hood asked her, but it's a him, uh, why she looks like that. And then Little Red Riding Hood, how do you say discovered?
Discovered.
Discovered him, and obviously know that uh, she was a wolf.
Okay, very good. And what happened? Did the love eat her, or he didn't eat her, and she ran away and found a lumberjack who rescued her, and the lumberjack
Oh yes,
killed the wolf. What happened, if you remember?
yes, I didn't remember that, but now yes, yes, Caperucita ran run away, and then she she found a lumberjack, and this lumberjack killed the wolf.
Exactly. Well, very good. Now, thank you, Nati. Excellent question. Excellent recount of the story. Sebas, question for you. It's not a difficult. It's not an easy question. It's a bit complex. If you had been the wolf, what would you have done differently?
No.
Because at the end, the lumberjack arrived to rescue Little Red Riding Hood, right? And kill the wolf. So if you had been the wolf, what would you have done differently?
Eat the Little Red Riding Hood at the first uh, at the first meeting.
Opportunity? You would have what?
I would eat or attack the Little
You,
Red Riding Hood at the
you would have
first
eaten
meeting.
the first meeting. Okay, very smart.
Because why you? Why are you going to wait to watch?
Exactly. It's ridiculous, right? That the wolf waits if he can eat Little Red Riding Hood at the first opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sebas. Now let's see. Uh, Nati, what would you have done different if you had been the grandma?
Probably I'm very like in a shock, and then I will have a, how do you say, paro cardíaco?
A what?
Paro cardíaco?
A heart attack.
A heart attack, and then I die. I think that.
Okay, well, you would have been in shock and you would have had a heart attack and would have died. Well, maybe. Okay. Now let's see. Another question. If you had been Little Red Riding Hood's mom, what would you have done differently? Would you have sent her to the middle of the forest that is abounded with wolves? Or you would have told her, wait, I come with you, or don't go to the forest alone, or wait until your grandma comes to the city and we give her some pancakes. What do you have done differently? Sebas and then Nati, please. What would you have done differently if you had been the mom?
Uh, I don't have say to Little Red Riding Hood to the girl.
Yes,
To wait me probably
to
or
wait
wait I don't know, the father.
for her dad to
Yeah.
accompany her. Right, exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's a bit ridiculous, but this is a, I mean, it's not a true story. It's more like a fantasy story, right? But it has many absurd events that you, why would a mother have sent Little Red Riding Hood to the middle of the forest where there are plenty of wolves? If I had been, okay, if I had been the mom, right? I would have said to Little Red Riding Hood to wait for her dad to accompany her if I had been the mom. Exactly, right? Very good. Okay. We're talking about funny stories. Let me show you one more. Do you know the story of Frankenstein? You know the story. Who knows the story of Frankenstein?
Not too much, teacher. Really,
Not too
I don't.
much.
Not
Not
No,
too
you know
I
much.
this.
know. I know who is Frankenstein, but I don't know anything about the story.
Me
Well,
too.
do me a favor, both of you guys, please, if you can. Google a summary. Google a summary about Frankenstein and then tell us the story more or less in your own words, please. Summary of Frankenstein. Uh, okay, I found a short story here. I'm gonna copy it and then maybe we can read it. Summary of the story. I'm gonna paste it here. Okay. Here, I found a summary. You can show me your findings later. But let's begin. Let's begin with this. Maybe who wants to read first? The first paragraph. Nati or
My
Sebas?
teacher.
Okay, Nati, please.
Frankenstein. The novel begins with a series of letters from a man named Robert Walton to his sister, detailing his journey to the North Pole. During the expeditions, Walton's crew discovers Victor Frankenstein, weakened and in poor health. Victor begins to tell Walton his life story.
Very nice. Thank you, Nati. Sebas, number two, please. Victor Frankenstein.
Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant and ambitious young scientist, became obsessed with the idea of creating life. He the,
Succeeds.
succeeds in animating a creature through the use of galvanism, but Husband, seeing the grotesque, grotesque,
Grotesque.
grotesque appearance of his creation, Victor is horrified and abandons it. The,
Abandons it.
abandons it. The creature, left to fend for itself, faces rejection and isolation from society.
Very nice. Very nice. Nati, please.
The creature often referred to as Frankenstein's monster learns to speak and read by observing a family in hiding. He becomes educated and articulate, but is filled with bitterness
Bitterness.
and resentment due to the rejection he experiences from humans. The creature seeks revenge on Victor for creating him and abandoning him to a life of loneliness.
Very nice. Thank you. Sebas, the last paragraph, please.
As Victor and the creator engage in a deadly pursuit across Europe, the novel explores themes of ambition, responsibility, the consequence of playing God, and the nature of humanity. The narrative also delves into the moral and ethical implications of scientific advancements.
Very good. Thank you very much. So, this is a very famous novel. Very famous. It's a classical. So, uh, what do you think about the story, Nati, and then Sebas?
Well, it seems interesting.
Why?
Well, because it englobes uh, like a type of not a scientific, very scientific story, but I don't know. I think it's more to know how the reaction of the people to know that it's well Frankenstein, to look at Frankenstein. I think it's more to know the nature of the humanity, to look at something that is strange for the people.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yes, that makes total sense. Makes total sense. And it's actually a kind of not a romantic story, but it's a story that makes people a bit sad. I don't know. What do you think of the story, Nati? Thank you, Sebas.
Well, for me, it's like not much interesting. I think it's well, not basic. but I don't know because it's a monster. And I don't like too much that stories, but yeah, with Sebastian say that it's interesting the form of the transformation probably of Victor to Frankenstein. But yeah.
Okay. So, well, let me ask you some questions then about the story. I'll just copy them here, and then I'm gonna ask you both to read them. Let's read the first question here. I'm sure you know the answers. Sebas, you want to read the first question, please?
Yes, teacher. You are not sharing your
Oh,
screen.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Give me a second. Percent share screen here and window here. All right, there. Okay, now here we go with the first question. Question number one.
Who is the author of Frankenstein?
Who is the author?
Mary Shelley.
Mary Shelley, exactly. Where is she from? Do you know?
No.
I think she was American, I believe.
Well, American, I think, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Sebas. Question number two, Nati, please. Question number two. What is the subtitle of Frankenstein?
um, the mother Prometheus.
The modern Prometheus. Yeah. Do you know the story of Prometheus?
No.
Okay, let's Google it really quick, please. Let's see if you find out who Prometheus was. I think he was part of the Greek mythology, but I'm not so sure. Who was Prometheus? Let's see if you can Google it, please. Yes, Greek mythology.
Oh yes.
Okay, what else, Nati? What else do you know about him?
Prometheus is sometimes referred to as the god of fire.
The god of what?
Fire.
Fire. Okay, and then what else?
Um, Prometheus is best known for defying the Olympian gods by stealing fire.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, let's continue with the next question. Let's see here. Who wants to read question number three?
Me.
Okay,
Ah,
Nati, please.
What is the initial reason for Victor Frankenstein's interest in science?
What is it? Fame and fortune, curiosity about the natural world, a desire for revenge, or to create life from death.
I think D.
Um, well, in reality, he was very curious. He wanted to know more about the natural world, and so he thought that he could give life to a corpse, to a dead corpse. So that's why he tried to build the monster, which was named after his own name, Frankenstein. All right. Well, let's do number four, Sebas, please.
yes, teacher. How does Victor Frankenstein react to the creature he creates? Well, I think it's big. It's horrified and repulsed,
Repulsed.
repulsed.
Yeah. And well, imagine how the monster would have felt being repulsed by his creator. What do you think about that? He felt rejected.
Yes.
The monster felt rejected because he was horrible, obviously, right?
Right.
uh, what feelings do you get from this rejection and repulsion, Nati? If somebody tells you, let's say one of your friends in your class in the school tells
Mhm.
you, Nati, you are my friend. I want to share a secret with you. And you say, yes, what is that? My mom is repulsing me. She's repelling me. What feeling does it provoke in you? How would you feel if a friend tells you that he or she has been rejected by her own creator, the mom or the dad?
Well, I'm in shock and so scared for the mom because the feeling of the repulsion, um, it's like a feeling of a monster.
Okay, okay, agreed, agreed, agreed. And so, Sebas, what do you think of the monster? Not that he's ugly or that he's too big or that whatever, but that he has feelings. Do you think that is possible
Um, to have feelings
to have feelings like in the story?
in real in a real situation, I think no.
Well, well, in the real situation, I don't think it is possible to even to build a monster. Right?
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
But let's
I think
let's
the most similar thing is a robot.
a robot is the most similar. Could be. I'm with you. I share your thoughts. But let's say that it was possible. Let's say that would have been possible to create a monster, but the monster feels repulsed and rejected. What do you think about his feelings? Are they valid? Is it valid for him to feel sad because he's been rejected?
Yes, obviously.
Obviously, right?
Like everyone.
Like everyone, right? So it's like a human feeling, right?
Yeah, it's like a human feeling. I think like everyone here he's going to feel sadness or get angry.
And right, actually, look at what it says here. It says that uh, what is that? Where does it say that he is resented? Faces rejection and isolation from society. That's more or less the feeling that people who are discriminated have. The same feeling. You are discriminated uh, because you are whatever for any reasons. People discriminate other people for any reasons because you are taller, because you're short, because you're slim, because you're fat, because you're big, because you're small. People discriminate for many things, which is a reality. But then he feels rejected and abandoned to a life of loneliness, right? Okay, poor guy. Then we have question number 5. Who wants to read it?
Me.
Who wants to read them? Okay, Nati, please.
What happens to Victor Frankenstein in the end of the novel?
Yeah, what happened to him?
It's number B.
Well, do you know the answer, Sebas? Actually,
Um, I
actually, the
don't
answers
know.
we have 4 options. We have four
Oh,
options. Sorry, I didn't write the 4 of them. These are the 4 options. Do you know the end of the story?
it was D.
It was
No.
C. He dies in the Arctic.
Oh.
He died?
Yeah, yeah, he dies.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a sad story, but it has a lot of interesting points. Um, there are many interesting stories that tell you allegories or allegoric stories that happened that are similar to reality. They are not real, but uh, well, they are similar to reality. Let me tell you another story. You know the story of the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I think they spell it like this: The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know the story?
No,
No, you have never heard of it?
No.
no.
Really?
Really?
What it means? What is about it?
It
What is
is
about the
about a
story?
what is the story about? The story is about a doctor who starts making experiments and he starts to take a drug that alters his personality. He's a very decent doctor. Dr. Jekyll is very famous. He's acclaimed as a very, very famous person. But at night, he takes the drug and he transforms his personality and his body, his figure, and everything. So at night, he becomes Mr. Hyde and he starts committing all kinds of adverse events and mishappenings, even crimes. So it becomes the other person of Mr. Dr. Jekyll. Totally different. Totally different. So it is a very famous story, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Louis Stevenson. Let me show you actually, I misspelled something here. All right, here. It's a very famous story from Louis Stevenson. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll with double L and Mr. Hyde. Okay, so here it is. Let's read it, please. Who wants to start? The first paragraph,
Me.
please.
Me. Oh, so Sebastian.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a novella written by Robert Louis Stevenson, first published in 1886. Here's a summary of the story.
Thank you, Nati. Thank you very much. Okay, Sebas, please, the first paragraph, please.
Yes. The novella is set in Victorian London and follows the lawyer Mr. Gabriel John Hutcherson as he investigates the mysterious and disturbing events surrounding his friend Dr. Henry Jack, Jekyll,
Jekyll.
Jekyll and the sinister Mr. Edward Hyde.
Yeah, well, Dr. Jekyll is very. Oh, give me a second, really quick, please. Okay, give me a second. Sí, Chava, buenas tardes. Ah, no, no te preocupes, Chava, no te preocupes. No, nada más te quería preguntar. I'm sorry, guys. There was the attorney, the lawyer that I'm having a case with him. But well, all right. So apologies, Sebas, not in back. Are you there?
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Okay. So whose turn to read is it? Who's going to read now?
Sebastián.
Oh, Sebas, please.
You are not sharing your screen, teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me share the screen here, right here, window here. Okay. So, Dr. Jekyll,
Yes. Dr. Jekyll is a well-respected scientist and physician,
physician,
physician who becomes fascinated with the idea of separating the good and evil aspects of his personality. And an attempt to do so, he creates a potion that transforms him into a
completely.
completely different person. Mr. Heidel, unlike the kind and amiable Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde is a cruel and violent character.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. Let me. Oh, I didn't share the complete story. I'm sorry. Let me. One story. Okay. Let me copy the rest of the story. I have the rest of the story here. Okay, here. And then I'm going to share this, Nati. And you please read the next segment, which I am putting here. Let me just, let me do this. I'm sorry. Just a second. I need to delete the rest. And I'm going to copy this here. Okay, here. And then, okay, here it goes. I'll share the screen now. Here, all right, there. Okay, Nati, please. If you can read the next section as the story unfolds.
As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Mr. Hyde is wreaking havoc in London, committing heinous acts without remorse. Utterson becomes increasingly concerned about Jekyll's association with Hyde and the potential danger it poses. The mystery deepens as Utterson learns more about Hyde's actions and discovers that Jekyll has altered his will in favor of Hyde.
Well, will is the testament. Now he's going to give all his money to Mr. Hyde, and his lawyer, Utterson, is puzzled. He says, Jekyll is going to give all his money to Hyde, who is a heinous person who acts without remorse. That's not possible. Okay. Well, let's see the next paragraph, please.
Me, right?
Yes, please.
And the climatic revelation, it's there, right?
Yeah.
It is disclosed through through Jekyll's confession letter that he has lost control over the transformation. The poison that once allowed him to switch between his two personalities is now taking effect involuntarily, turning him into Hyde without, without his conscious choice.
Okay.
Jekyll's
Struggle.
struggle to contain Hyde becomes a losing battle, and the story ends with the disappearance of both
Disappearance.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So, how do you like the story, Nati? Did you like it? What do you think about the story? Do you think it's a good story? It's pretty boring. It's interesting. What do you think?
Well, I think Natalie has the microphone
Do you have the
disconnected.
microphone off or disconnected, Nati? We cannot hear you.
No, I'm here.
Okay, can you comment about the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Yes, well, it's a good, but yeah, it's like 50% of my agree because
In what sense? In what sense?
because you mentioned about that about a testament, right?
Yeah, he left his testament to Dr. Jekyll left his testament to Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
You would say, well, that's crazy, right? How can
Right.
he leave his testament to a person that, but in reality, Dr. Jekyll is the same person as Mr. Hyde, except that Jekyll doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
He ignores that he's becoming Mr. Hyde himself. So that is like a silly situation, right? He
Right.
doesn't know that he's Mr. Hyde,
It's
which
a confused situation.
confusing situation. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you, Nati. Let's go to the questions now. Sebas, how did you like the story? What do you think about the story?
It's an interesting history because I think it's not very common to explore this type of how do you say premisa
Premises.
premises in a history to have two type of personalities in a same person. Well, I think it's in some histories it's um, some histories talk too about this, but I think it's not very common to have a history of like this. I think it's interesting.
It's really interesting, right? Yeah, that is true. That is true. I quite like it, by the way, because it is unusual that it is unusual that a person can separate good and bad. It is really difficult. How do you separate good and bad from a person? It's not something easy to attain, but well, in this book, Stevenson tries to separate good. Not Stevenson, the author tries to say that you can separate good and bad, and this is well, the results are notoriously bad, as you can see. Yeah, but I don't know. It makes you think. You think it's possible to separate good and bad, Nati, or is impossible? Because we cannot remove what is bad in ourselves, or can we, and become perfect people? In other words, is it possible to separate the bad things that I have and be only good? Or what do you think about that concept?
Mm, I think that is not possible because I know people that is like good, and then when they need to like explode their emotions, they cannot. So it's good and better to have positive and negative options.
Okay, very interesting, Nati. Really. Well, let's go to the questions. Thank you for the comments, Sebas and Nati. Let's go to question number one, which I'm sure that you're gonna answer correctly. So here is question number one. Let's read the question and the answers, and then choose the right answer. You wanna go, Sebas, please?
Who is the author of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Who is the author?
I forgot it.
You forgot it. Um,
Uh, I'm going to say mm, eight.
A. Well, Mary Shelley is the author of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
and Bram Stoker is the author of Dracula, and Edgar Allan Poe is
So
the author of the
it's B, right?
it's B. Robert
It's
Louis
B.
Stevenson. Yeah, exactly. Very good, Sebas. Thank you. Question number two, Nati, please.
What is the profession of the main character, Mr. Gabriel John Utterson?
Yeah.
Hmm, I'm remembering.
Yeah, no, no, don't worry. Don't worry.
Mm, a doctor? No, no,
Um,
no, no. It's Mr. Gabriel, right?
Mr. Gabriel John Utterson. Remember that he is. Well, let's see if you remember.
I I remember the answer
Do you remember the answer? Do you
of
wanna
question
pass
D.
your? You wanna pass, Nati, or you wanna guess?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, so you pass. Okay, Sebas, what is the profession?
It's a liar, a lawyer.
It's a lawyer, right? Exactly. It's a lawyer that works for Dr. Jekyll. He's like his
Yeah,
legal advisor. That's his legal advisor. So when Dr. Jekyll leaves the testament in favor of Mr. Hyde, Mr. Utterson becomes surprised. He says, "How can it be? You're going to leave your money to this guy that makes lots of nonsense actions?" All right. Well, the next question, question number three. Who wants to read it?
nothing.
You want to try, Nati?
Yes, what transformation does this do? I think it's it.
Okay, read it.
He transforms into Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, he transforms into Mr. Hyde, exactly, which is a terrible man. That is true. Okay, now question number four, Sebas, please.
Yes, teacher. What is Mr. Hyde's demeanor and behavior?
Yeah, what is his
Uh,
behavior?
Cruel and violent?
Cruel and violent. Yeah, exactly. He's cruel and he's violent. So he starts making heinous acts, which is terrible, right? He looks and he
Yeah.
becomes suspicious. Okay. The last question, Nati, please.
How does the novella conclude?
Yes.
Um, D.
D. Dr. Jekyll finds a cure for his transformations. Well, let's see if I have the writing here. No, I don't think I do. No. No. What happens? What happens, Evans? You remember?
What happens?
At the end.
Uh, at the sea, both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde disappear.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what happens at the end, which is, I don't know if it's a good or bad ending, but well, that's how it is. So that's another great story, very famous. And there are plenty of fantastic stories that when you have an opportunity, you need to read. If you read them in English, way better. They're classics. I want to tell you one more story, which is also very famous, at least in my time. And it is called The Picture of Dorian Gray. Have you seen that story? And I don't know if it's correctly spelled. Let me check. The Picture of Dorian Gray. You know the story?
The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's a book.
It's a novel written by this famous Irish, not English, Irish writer, Oscar Wilde.
No. Well,
You don't
and
know the
it's not
story.
very common for me to read books or novels,
Okay.
so I didn't know about these in histories.
Okay. Dorian Gray is a novel published by Oscar Wilde. Okay. So I'm gonna copy the. It's a classic, by the way. Let me see if I can copy the complete story here. Do you know the story, Nati? The Picture of Dorian Gray?
No, teacher.
You don't know? Don't
No.
worry. I'll paste it here. I think that's it. Okay. Very good. Let's see. I think it's complete. No, it's not complete. Let me check. I'm sorry. I think it's not copying everything. So it's a nice story. Very nice. Okay. Here, hedonism here, no here. All right. There. This is, well, here is the story. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Let's begin reading it, please. Who wants to start?
Me, teacher.
All right, please.
The novel follows the life of Dorian Gray, a young and handsome man living in London. Dorian is the subject of a portrait painted by the artist Basil Hallward. As the novel begins, Dorian is introduced to Lord Henry Gordon, a cynical and witty,
Witty.
witty aristocrat, influenced by Henry's hedonistic philosophy. Dorian expresses a desire to live a life dedicated to the pursuit of pleasure and beauty.
That's it. That's what he wants. Do you think it's a noble goal or is a bit hedonistic? Is a bit excessive or is it okay? What do you think?
That is enolistic or what?
Hedonistic. Yeah, just dedicated to pleasure. I mean, he doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to have any obligations. Just enjoy life. He just wants to pursue, to chase pleasure and beauty. That's what he wants. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Sebas, the second paragraph, please.
Yes, in a moment of vanity and wishful thinking, Dorian expresses a desire of portrait to age and bear the marks of time instead of him allowing him to remain forever young and beautiful. His wish is mysteriously granted, and Dorian beings a life indul-
Of
indulgence
indulgence, of indulgence.
of indulgence and moral decay, while the portrait ages and reflects the consequences of his actions.
In other words, he expresses a wish. He says, "Oh, I wish I was always young and handsome." But the wish is mysteriously granted by some way, right? And so Dorian starts to make all kinds of indulgences, all kind of pleasures, but the moral is very low moral. But nothing happens to his face, to his body through the years. But the portrait starts to become old and reflect the consequence of his actions. You follow this? The portrait, the picture that the painter painted, starts to change and become old and ugly. What do you think of that?
Well, it's strange.
Well, yeah,
published.
he's fiction,
It's
right? But he wants to be
fiction.
young, so he's young, but the portrait starts to become old. The face of the portrait of the picture starts to show wrinkles and starts to become older, and because he's behaving terribly bad in society, the picture starts to become old, but Dorian remains young. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fiction. It's fiction. But well, it's a story. It's a classic. Okay, Nati, please, the next one. I don't know. Nati is there.
Yes, teacher. Yes. In
Okay, please.
Azorian engages in a series of immoral and hedonistic activities. His portrait becomes increasingly grotesque, showcasing the moral corruption hidden from the view of society. Meanwhile, Dorian remains outwardly youthful, untouched by the passage of time.
So the portrait becomes ugly, but he doesn't change. The real person doesn't change, right? Okay. Yeah, it's weird. It's bizarre. Okay, thank you, Nati. Sebas, please.
The novel explores. It's there, right?
Yeah.
The novel explores themes of corrupting influence and of aesthetic, aestheticism, the consequences.
Aestheticism. Aestheticism.
Aestheticism, the consequences of a life dedicated to pleasure without regard for morality and the relationship between art and the artist. Dorian's downward spiral into decadence and cruelty serves as cautionary
Cautionary tale.
cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked hedonism.
Hedonism. Okay, very good. Thank you. Nati, the last part, please.
In the tragic climax of the story, Dorian, confronted by the horror of his own portrait, attempts to destroy it, leading to his own demise. The novel concludes with the portrait returning to its original state, while Dorian's lifeless body is found aged and with, with her,
Withered.
withered, bearing the marks of his corrupted soul.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end, he is very young and the portrait is very ugly with all the signs of his terrible social behavior. So he becomes upset with the picture. So he wants to kill the picture, he wants to destroy it with a knife, but at the end, he stabs himself. He inserts the knife in his own body and he appears dead. And the portrait comes back to the young Dorian. Okay. Well, this is a very classic story of my age, of course, of my generation. And well, this is the story. What do you think of the story, Sebas? How do you like it?
Well, like the others with a lot of fiction.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's interesting. I think it's interesting
Okay.
because Dorian needs to uh, learn learn the forgot it. I forgot it. I forgot it. I forgot the word. The oh
What?
the
Here's the writing.
the resolution probably.
The resolution, okay.
No,
The moral of
the
the story.
moral, the moral of the wish of his her wish. Sorry,
Okay. So you think it is a bad request to ask to be young all the life? Or is a valid request? He wanted to remain young all his life. Is that a
Yeah,
valid request or is a bad request? What do you think? Or is valid?
I
He wanted
think
to remain young.
it's valid because
It's a
everyone
valid
wants to
request.
be young,
Okay.
but everyone knows that it's impossible because
Exactly.
the age give you more probably experience and give you a moral for the life.
That's a good concept. Yeah, you need to have morality, right? You cannot just abandon yourself to the pleasures of life. You need to have some morality. So I fully agree with your comment, Sebas. I think it's valid and it's clear that you cannot just go through life doing whatever you want. You also need to have some morality and obey the laws of nature. What do you think, Manati? Thank you, Sebas. Or you
You're welcome.
think, yeah, you think, Nati, that you can just do anything you want in society and remain young and spotless, or that you pay the consequences for a life of no responsibilities? What do you think?
I think we don't we cannot control the society, all the rules, because in many cases we need these norms that um, establish a limit for us.
All right. That is very important to establish boundaries or limits. That's a very important comment, Nati. Thank you. Well, let's go to the questions, Sebas and Nati. Sebas, question number one, please. It's difficult. No, it's very easy. Let's see. Question number one.
Who is the author of the picture of Dorian Gray? Well, it's Oscar Wilde.
Oscar Wilde, yes, a fantastic Irish writer. He also wrote other famous stories, short tales. He wrote The Happy Prince. I don't know if you remember that we once read the story of the Happy Prince. Remember the story or not? El Príncipe Feliz. You remember the story or maybe not?
No.
No. Well, okay, don't worry. Uh, okay. Well, second question. Question number two, Nati, please.
What is the name of the artist who paints Dorian Gray's portrait? Basil Hallward.
Basil Hallward. Exactly. Very good. Thank you, Nati. The next one,
Yes.
Sebas, please.
What's the supernatural event allows Dorian Gray to remain young while his portrait
H's.
ages? Sorry.
What?
Uh, a magic spell?
Um, well, apparently, according to the book, it is not said in this story because it's only a summary, but it's apparently a deal with the devil.
Ah, with the devil.
Apparently, well, according to the questionnaire and the answers given, it is.
Oh.
Well, that's what it says. We need to read it. We need to read the whole book. It's really good. It's a great book. Okay. Well, let's go to question. Thank you, Sebas. Go to question number four. Nati, please.
What is the primary influence on Dorian Gray's moral degradation?
Yeah. Or is the primary influence? Do you remember? It says somewhere. I don't know
I
if
think
it's
B, the hedonistic philosophy of Lord Henry Gordon.
D exactly. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Thank you, Nati. And finally, Sebas, please. Question number 5.
Yes, teacher. How does the novel conclude for Dorian Gray? He lives a long and full, fulfilling life. He repents for his sins and finds redemption. He dies a tragic death. His portrait ages
H's.
while remains young. He
Yeah.
remains young.
Yeah. What do you think is the truth? Which is the true story?
A.
The true answer. He lived a
A.
long and fulfilling life.
Or it was B.
He repents and sins for and finds redemption. Well, let's see.
I don't
I
remember.
think at the end, in the tragic climax of the story, he's confronted by the horror of his own portrait. He tries to destroy with a knife. He tries to destroy the portrait, the picture with a knife, the painting. But the portrait comes back to normal, and Dorian has no life. He kills himself with the knife. He tries to kill the portrait, but at the end he appears with a knife in his chest.
Oh,
So, which is the answer?
so he dies a tragic
He
death.
dies a tragic death. Exactly. Exactly. Well, it's a funny story. They have made lots of movies. I would suggest that you try to find a movie about the picture of Dorian Gray. It's a famous story, and I kind of like it because I mean, it's a classic. All right. Um, Now I'm gonna ask you to please see if you remember this story. Very famous. This is a true story from history, from the Second World War. This is a true story. This is not fiction. There was a pope called. I'm gonna write his name here, and I'm gonna share you the screen to see if you know this name. Okay, window here. Okay, look up for this pope, please. Look him up in internet. Uh, Giuseppe Maria. Uh, what's the other? He has like four names. Give me a second, please. Uh, I'll tell you in a moment. He has like five or four names. He's in, okay, here. Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli. That's his name. Here. Look up this character, please, from history. Can you look him up, please? Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli.
Okay,
Look him
it's
up, please. Very
it's
interesting. It's a pope. It was a pope from the Catholic Church. I'm raised a Catholic, so uh, I don't know if you are also religious people, Nati or Sebas. Well, I'm religious, but I'm not an example yet.
I'm Catholic too.
You're Catholic too. Well, okay. Probably you're
yeah.
a
So
better Catholic than Sebas too. I am respectful. I like Catholicism. I was educated a Catholic, but this story is very interesting. Very interesting. Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli was Pope. What Pope was he? I don't remember. Pius 12. Pius the 12th. Pope Pius 12th. Pio 12. All right. Look him up. Look up his story, please. Find a summary of his life, please. Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli. What do you know about him, please? Okay, so here we have
He
some.
helps people during the Second World War, right?
That's controversial. That is exactly the controversy that is stated here. That we're gonna read about that. What else, Sebas? Tell us more about him, please, before we read.
Let me know. Um, I don't know. Well, I think that's all that I found because
That's all you
the
found.
other things it's for his name, born, when he
He
was
was
born,
born.
when he died.
Okay. What about? Thank you, Sebas. Thank you. What about you, Nati? Did you find anything interesting about Maria Giuseppe Pacelli? Did you find anything? I don't know if Nati's there. Did you find something, Nati?
It's an ex papa, right?
He was a pope. He was a pope.
A
He was
pope is a
pope.
papa.
Papa, yes, Pius
Okay,
12.
but it's a Hitler pope.
No, no, no. He was in the papacy during the Holocaust, during the Second World War.
Oh, okay,
Well,
yeah,
tell us
yeah.
what else you found. What you learned about him?
Well, there is a question that Hitler Pope or how do you say Judeo?
Jewish
Jewish defensor.
defender. All right, that is a controversy. Perfect. That's exactly the controversy. Let's read it. Sebas, can you start today, please? Can you start this time, please? Very
Our
interesting.
teacher, Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli, better known as Pope Pius XII,
Pius, Pius,
Pius was born on March 2nd, 1876 in Rome, Italy, and he passed away on October 9th, 1958. He served as the head of the Catholic Church from March 2nd, 1939 until his death. Pope Pius XII faced the challenges of World War II, during which he sought to maintain the church's neutrality, neutrality
neutrality,
and provide diplomatic efforts to address the conflict.
the conflict. Very good. Thank you, Sebas. Nati, the second one, please.
Yes, one of the notable aspects of Pius XII papacy is his response to the Holocaust. Criticism has been directed towards him for not explicitly condemning the genocide of the Jews,
Genocide. Genocide.
genocide of the Jews by Nazi Germany during the war. Some argue that he did not speak out forcefully enough against the atrocities. However, others contend that he worked behind the scenes to save Jews and oppose the Nazis' actions without making public statements that might have worsened the situation.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nati. Sebas, the next one, please. Pope Pius XII.
Pope Pius XII was known for his scholarly background and diplomatic skills. Before becoming Pope, he served as the Vatican's Secretary of State, and his papacy,
Papacy
papacy consisted,
coincided.
coincided with a turbulent
Coincided.
coincided with a turbulent period in the world history. The evolution of Pius XII's legacy continues to be a topic of historical theological discussion.
Discussion. Very good. Very interesting. Truly interesting. One of the most controversial popes in history, precisely because he governed the Catholic Church during the Holocaust. So, what do you think of the story, Nati? Thank you, Sebas.
Controversial.
It's controversial. In what sense, Sebas?
The moment to help the Jews,
Yeah.
to escape for the Holocaust in the Second World War.
Second World War. All right. Do you think that he should have been more open and face Hitler directly, or
No,
swim under
face.
the water? Did he behave correctly?
I think yes, because in that moment I think to face Hitler very well face to face,
Openly, openly,
very
yes.
openly. It's I think it could be dangerous
Could have been
for
dangerous. Exactly.
the church.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Absolutely. Yes. Good comment, Sebas. Thank you. Nati, what do you think? I don't know if.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting biography. I like the part of the like they don't know certainly that if this pope it's with Hitler or with the Jews, but I think the way that he how do you say recorre
Goes by.
goes by all of this Holocaust. It's the key for the answer to know if he's with the Jews.
Okay. Um, what do you think of being the Pope in the Catholic Church, Sebas? What does that mean for you during the Second World War? Do you think it's an easy job? There are many conflicts you have to negotiate.
I think always to be pope it's a hard responsibility.
Yeah, why?
Well, I think well it's a very recognized and respectful fig- figure for all the world. So I think it's hard to maintain it,
Okay, very good.
and
Very
I
good.
think more in the Second World War because it was a very controversial moment at the history of the world.
Okay, give me a second then, please, Sebas. Give me a
Okay.
second. Bueno, bueno. Bien, aquí I'm sorry, Seba. Sorry, Nati. I had to take this call. Is the last one. Um, well, it's a difficult, very difficult job to be a pope in times of peace. Imagine being the pope in times of war and world war. Which are the things that you have to handle or negotiate as the head of the Catholic Church, Nati? What are the important things in politics, in I mean, of a religious church and a religious church of a church like the Catholic Church that is the biggest church in the world? What do you think is the complexity of that? What do you think, Nati?
Well, I think the respect that our like for example, well, in my case, my parents, um, how do you say inculcar?
They instill in us. They instill,
They instill, well, in us, or in this case, in me, my parents,
right?
uh, the respect of the Catholic Church, because it's very big, and we need to be very careful with the topics that we talk with Catholic, because it's not a game, but actually probably now we don't have that like that respect or that rule. Obviously, me, yes, but the new generations, um, probably not.
So the respect for the church has been fading, right?
Yes.
Has started to fade. The respect has started to fade or to vanish, right? That's what you think. Okay, and I agree with you, Nati. Actually, I believe that you are right. People is respecting uh, the Catholic Church and in general all the churches less and less and less. Do you agree with the comment, Sebas? And if so, why? What do you think of this comment that Nat is making? That the respect for the church has started to fade. What do you think? Is that true? And if that is true, why is that happening, Sebas?
Well, I don't know. I'm not very associated with topics of the church. I think it's more for, well, it's not for me. I'm not very attracted to that type of topics. Well,
Okay.
not religious topics, but well, I think, well, I know that we're not talking about religious topics, but and topics like the church, but well, I don't know.
Okay. All right. But have you seen young people and not so young people who, like Nati says correctly, in this generation, maybe they are not so respectful as they used to be in our parents' generations? What do you think? Do you agree with this comment, Nati? You mentioned that you have seen respect go down. Why do you
Yes.
think that is happening?
Well, I think the thinking of the people are changing a lot,
Okay.
but the why I don't know, because it's Korea. A lot of people starts to be athe- ath-
Atheist.
atheist, atheist, and well, I don't know why.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is true. Nati, why do you think the respect has started to fade or to vanish? Why do you think that is happening, Nati?
Um, Probably one factor is the um, perspective of the mental. Um, I don't know how to say mentality.
Mentality, exactly.
Okay. The mentality is changing. the values are um, decreasing.
Decreasing and declining.
Yes.
That is true. And yeah, that is, I agree with you. That is unfortunate. But well, there are many historical events that, for example, like this is controversial. I am pretty sure that Pope Pius XII was helping the Jewish people escape the Holocaust. And the fact that he didn't openly oppose Hitler is because he was trying to be smart, right? If he had confronted him openly, probably he would have been captured and executed because, Italy is next door with Germany. So if you see a map, can you find a map of Germany and Italy, please? Can you look up a map, Sebas, Nati? A map of Germany and um, Italy. Map of Germany, Italy. Map of Germany and Italy. They are not really so far. Look,
I
I'm
found
gonna.
it.
You found it? Can you share it with us?
Yes, teacher, give me a second. Uh, uh, can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna add it to the percent. I don't know if you can see it. If it is visible here in the.
Yes,
Is it?
yes,
Okay.
is it?
Well, how far is it from Germany? Not very far, right?
No.
Well, you see, if they had made any declarations, it says Estados Pontificios, that is the Vatican. Then you have Switzerland, Lombardy, and then you have Germany, right? So imagine that the Pope, opposed Hitler openly. Well, he would have obviously captured
The
not only
Pope?
the Pope, but many other bishops and cardinals. So it would have been a very risky movement by the Pope. So I believe that he behaved very, very intelligently. He was very smart. Thank you, Sebas. And at the end, well, Hitler is dead and the Catholic Church is still alive and reigning. So, well, I mean, that's the fact, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's that story. Um, Tell me, who are your three most impressive characters in history, Sebas and Nati, please. Please, if you can write in the chat the three most inspiring or the most inspiring or the three most exemplary characters in history. Let's see if you can put them in the chat. Three most inspiring characters in history. Who are they? You would say the three most inspiring characters in history. Three people that you truly, truly, truly admire from history. Who would it be? What do you think, Nati, Sebas?
In what chat? In the WhatsApp or here in the Jamboard? Because I write
Uh,
in the Jamboard.
you wrote here in the. Okay.
So I'm
Shakespeare.
looking.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shakespeare is one. Okay. Who's the other one?
Mm,
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you who the software says. Let's see what you think of these people. This is a phenomenal person. This is another great person. And let's see what you think of these people. Okay, well, these are three characters that are impressively, are phenomenal, but there are many others. Let's see. Nati says, tell me your characters, Nati, please. Nati says Shakespeare. Who else?
Mozart
Mozart. Okay, yeah, he was a genius. And
and
who
Rosa
else?
Parks.
Rosa Parks. Parks, right?
Right.
Very nice. Well, I'll tell you something. These three people are just phenomenal people. I like your choices. Sebas, please.
I'm searching for it.
You're searching. No, it's what you like. I mean, what do you think?
Well,
There is no right or wrong. It's what you think. It's subjective.
well, there is. Let me tell you mine. Charles Darwin, George Washington,
Charles,
and
Charles Darwin,
George
George
Washington,
Washington. All right.
and Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. Wow. Great people. No doubt the three of them are great people. All right. Now tell me something about them, please. Okay. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. Okay. Tell me something about Shakespeare, Nati, please. Why was he so great?
I admire him, or is inspiring me because he wrote Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. That's a good reason. It's valid. Absolutely valid. Thank you, Sebas. Why do you admire Charles Darwin?
Well, because he was a great investigator, investi- investigator,
Researcher.
researcher, researcher, and I think his researchers was very interesting. I think one of the most known of them it was the theory of evolution
The evolution of species.
of species. Right, right.
Do you agree with his theory of the evolution of species?
Yes, because every species needs to adapt to an specific
Environment.
environment. Yeah,
Does that explain why I like bananas so much?
yeah, probably yes.
Probably, yeah, probably because my ancestors were monkeys, right? I'm just joking. Um, I agree with you. He was a great researcher. The book, The Evolution of the Species, to this day, 200 years later, is still valid and very strong researcher and discoveries that are valid to this day. It's incredibly strong. I agree with your choice. Now, let me ask Nati, Rosa Parks. Why do you like Rosa Parks, Nati?
Because um, she was a rebel, but a rebel in the right way because she defended a good reason. Talking
What?
about
What?
discrimination.
Oh, okay. What was that reason that she was defending?
Uh, she was in a bus, and then in the bus was a white person, and this is like the believing of if you are black person, you need to, how do you say that?
Cede or concede
Concede
your seat.
your seat to that person. And Rosa Parks said no.
She didn't want to give up her seat.
Mm-hmm.
She was valiant. She was brave.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, that is a very famous story. Thank you, Nati. I totally agree that she's a fantastic lady. We talk more about them in a bit. Now, tell us about George Washington, Sebas, please. Who was he? What did he do? Why is he so important in your in your choice of selected people from history? Why do you have such a high opinion of George Washington? Of course.
Well, George Washington, you know what? That was a president of the first president of the United States,
Uh huh.
and well, it was one of he fights at the independence of one of the first uh, countries of America to be free of the British, well, European control
Command,
command
control.
here in America. And for George Washington and his revolution, a lot of countries here in America starts to their own independence. So for that reason, I chose George Washington.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions on history. When was the U.S. Revolution from England?
Mm,
Independence.
independence.
When was that? In what year?
Mm,
The
it was in
Declaration,
1776 or 78.
1776. Exactly right. The Declaration of Independence. Okay, very good. Excellent comment, Sebas. Let me go to
Well,
Nati
at the
now.
beginning of the class, you you asked me that question, right? Or a
Uh,
similar question at the beginning of the class.
yeah, exactly. The Declaration of Independence was proclaimed by George Washington. Exactly right. That is true. Very true. I didn't ask you when, but I asked you who had done the Declaration of Independence, and you said correctly that it was George Washington. Very good, Sebas. Now, Nati, you said Mozart is a great person in history. Why? Why is Mozart in your choices?
Because I like his music.
Well, his music is just great. It's just amazing.
Yes.
Uh, what else?
Well, because it's relaxing to listen.
Relaxing to listen to him, right? Do you
Right.
believe that he was a prodigy?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he had the ability to play the piano. I don't have that ability.
He has the ability to play the piano and to make compositions, symphonic compositions. Imagine that.
Right.
Very good. Well, yeah, he's considered one of the most brilliant prodigies of history. Very good, Nati. Thank you. Now let me ask Sebas about Muhammad Ali, which his original name was Cassius Clay, and he changed it. Why do you admire him, Sebas? Please.
Well, first of all, he was a very famous boxer,
Boxer, right?
boxer, and he fights for the rights of well black people.
He fought for the rights. He fought for the rights of black people. That is right. He fought for the rights of black people.
in United
Did
States,
he?
because in that times, well, the people of United States was very very racist.
At that time, the people of the U.S. were very racist. That is true. Totally true. Totally true. Well, that's why these people have something in common. Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, and believe it or not, Martin Luther King. Who was Martin Luther King, remember?
It was a writer, right?
He was, well, let me find his exact Martin Luther King Jr. He was an advocate of, he was a clergyman, advocate for social justice, and he played a role in the American civil rights movement of the 50s. Unfortunately, he was assassinated, uh, but he led the Montgomery bus boycott in which Rosa Parks refused to concede her seat. Uh, he had a famous march in 1963, and he got the Nobel Prize in 1964. And in 1968, he was assassinated, which is very, very unfortunate. Okay, so here is something about Martin Luther King, which I'm going to post here. He's an impressive person, character. Martin Luther King. All right, so let's see. We have time to read. I think we have a little time to read about him. Let me see, just see really quick. His legacy. Yeah, well, let's read it really quick. Let's read really quick about his life. And let's begin with the first part. Martin Luther King is, Nati, can you read about Martin Luther King, January 15th? Oh, this is too small.
Yes.
Uh, Let me change the size a little bit. Change size pixels to 80%, maybe. Okay. Oh, I don't know if it's lost too much resolution. Can you read it?
Yes, I can read it.
Okay, please.
Martin Luther King Jr., January 15th, 1929 to April 4th, 1968, was an American clergyman, civil rights leader, and advocate for social justice. He played a pivotal role in the American civil rights movement from the mid 1950s until his assassination in 1968. King is best known for his promotion of nonviolent civil disobedience in the struggle for civil rights and equality for African Americans in the United States.
Very good. Excellent, Nati. Thank you. Sebas, please. Key aspects of Martin Luther King's life and work include what?
Key aspects of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and working include Montgomery bus boycott. King gained national
Prominence.
prominence as a leader during
Leader.
the
As a leader.
leader during Montgomery bus boycott, a protest against racial segregation on public buses in Montgomery, Alabama. The boycott, sparked by Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her bus
Basit.
bus seat, I can see very well.
Okay.
To a white
To a white person,
to a white person listed for
300.
381 days and lead to a Supreme Court ruling that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sebas. Nati, Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
In 1957, King, along with other civil rights leaders, founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization dedicated to coordinating and supporting nonviolent uh, action as direct action as a method of disintegrating bus systems across the South.
South. Very good. Thank you, Nati. Sebas, March on Washington 1963.
March on Washington. One of the most iconic moments in the civil rights movement was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1973. It
63.
culminated at 63, sorry. It culminated in King's famous I Have a Dream speech delivered at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, where he articulated his vision of racial harmony and equality.
Okay. Nati, please, Civil Rights Act of 1964. King's efforts.
Uh, King's efforts, along with those of many other activists, contributed to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a landmark piece of legislation that outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin.
Excellent. Nobel Prize, Nobel Peace Prize. Sebas, please.
Nobel Peace Prize. Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for his commitment to nonviolent struggle,
Struggle.
struggle for civil rights.
Commitment. His
Commitment.
commitment to nonviolent struggle for civil rights. Very good. Thank you very much. The last part, very sad, very tragic, very dramatic. Nati, please. Tragically.
Tragically, King's life was cut short when he was assassinated on April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee. His legacy, however, continues to have a profound impact on the fight for civil rights and social justice around the world.
Okay, very good. Well, these people should live 1,000 years. They are just great people. It's a real pity that they have to finish their days like that. But well, I'd like to ask you to read a documentary or a movie about Martin Luther King or any of the people you admire. Try to read a documentary about them in English, if you can, please. And then we discuss this on Thursday. What do you think? You think you can devote 15 minutes? Look for a 15-minute documentary on any of the people that you admire, Sebas, Nati. You think you can do that?
Yes, I can do it. Teacher, I
Okay.
want to tell you that this Thursday I will not be able to connect to the class.
Oh, you cannot connect?
Yes, I
Oh,
cannot.
well, it's unfortunate. How about you, Sebas? You have time?
The Thursday, I think, yes. If I
Okay,
don't
well, see you.
have anything to do.
Okay, well, see you on Thursday then, Sebas.
See you
Nati, take
Thursday,
care. See you
teacher.
on Tuesday. Take
Yes,
care.
teacher, thank you so much.
Goodbye,
Goodbye.
teacher.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Take
See
care.
Goodbye.
you.
Goodbye. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy. Good
You
night.
too.